Medley's is where a dollar means a dollar and free really does mean free.
This news report is brought to you by the Flow Corporate Audio Group. If you own a business, the Flow Corporate Audio Group is someone you should know. For award-winning custom audio and video development, no one does it better. For more information, visit www.flowcag.com or call 708-283-8860. The Flow Corporate Audio Group is the sound choice for business.
Good morning. Today is Tuesday, the 6th day of March. I'm David Martin IV with WVON News, and we're happy that you're joining us on this gorgeous Tuesday morning. Some of the stories making headlines at this hour. The G8 summit, of course, will now not be held here in Chicago. One man is dead and another was critically injured after a violent domestic argument in a Lakeview home late last night. Attorney General Eric Holder is justifying the U.S. targeting and killing American citizens overseas in the war on terror. And finally, the big story, Super Tuesday in Ohio is expected to be a tight race between Mitt Romney and Rick Santorum. I'll have more details on those stories at the bottom of the hour. We will take a look at your morning drive and weather right after this.
For almost 10 years, I've been a lineman for the power company. It's hard work up here on the wires, long, dangerous hours. And at times like this, when storms roll through, I really appreciate how much people rely on me. I know that service is important. That's why I also serve in the Coast Guard Reserve. In the Coast Guard Reserve, our crews respond to rising floodwaters in the Midwest, oil spills in the Gulf of Mexico, and disasters like the Haiti earthquake. The Coast Guard Reserve is a challenge I gladly take on because my country needs me. It has a lot in common with my full-time career, and just like other first responders, firemen, police officers, and EMTs, we do our best work when things are their worst. I have no doubt I was born for this.
If you were born ready to give more to your country, the Coast Guard Reserve is ready for you. Learn more at gocoastguard.com.
Sponsored by the United States Coast Guard in cooperation with the Illinois Broadcasters Association and this station.
This traffic report is brought to you by Governor State University. Earn success by degrees at Governor State University. With convenient classes and the most affordable tuition in Illinois, moving ahead just got a whole lot easier. Learn more at govst.edu/GSU today.
WVON Drive Time 8:06. David Martin IV. Glad to be along with you for your morning drive. At this hour, stopping and installing on Lakeshore Drive from Balboa towards Jackson in around 18 minutes. Additional delays this hour on the Dan Ryan as you're driving inbound at 47th Street due to an accident near 27 minutes. And the Eisenhower stopping and installing from Western Avenue towards 17th at around an hour and 15 minutes due to that major accident. 2 left lanes there are blocked. Your forecast for today, a beautiful day, high near 61 degrees. This evening, clear, a low near 48. For Wednesday, partly sunny skies, a high near 62. At Midway, it's now 40 degrees. At O'Hare, it's now 38. Here at the WVON studios, things are on the up and up at 38 degrees. Well, that's a look at your morning drive and weather. I'm David Martin IV. Rise and shine, Chicago. We're now in hour 3 of the Matt McGill Morning Show, and it continues right now. This is what we do. We are the talk of Chicago. 1690 WVON.
Ladies, join Ayala Von Zant and Susan Taylor for the Gold Rush 2012, March 29th through the 31st at Lincolnshire Marriott. Take the time, get away, relax, restore, and renew. Register today at pccfam.org or call 773-417-9595.
Broadcasting live from Chicago. You're listening to Step Kid Radio on the Talk of Chicago and the Voice of the Nation, 1690 WVON.
Hey, don't forget to go to WVON.com right now and check out that wonderful website. Of course, we're broadcasting around the world. Wherever you are, you can listen to WVON. Chicago loves talk radio. That's why you listen to 1690 AM WVON. And the Apostle Sweet Baby Ray, the video that's on WVON.com right now.
Tyler Perry gives advice on how to be successful.
And he would know, wouldn't he?
He would know, definitely. He's an expert at that, huh?
How much money do you think Tyler Perry has, Sweet Baby, the Apostle Ray?
I don't even want to guess.
Maybe $1 billion. Is he,
I wish, you know.
Is he
it's going
closer?
to make me jealous.
Well, Oprah's a billionaire, so I would imagine Tyler Perry, he's the highest paid person in Hollywood these days. This is going to take him a while to get up to $1 billion, right? He's got to hold it down for several years.
The ranks.
Oprah had that title for many years, though, and that's why she's probably a billionaire. So Tyler Perry, who can talk about success more than Tyler Perry? Not too many people. So go to WVON.com and check out that website and that bit of information there coming from somebody who knows success. Also, Tyler Perry, I think I've been hearing a commercial on WVON. He's bringing the stage plays back around, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he will actually be performing on stage here in Chicago pretty soon, himself.
He's bringing Medea back?
That is
character?
correct.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Well, now, that's interesting. For a guy who has that much success and that much money, for him to do that character again is interesting. You would think he doesn't need to do it, he doesn't want it, but that must be,
something he loves.
It's something, right?
I think it's probably his vision is he's revitalizing the base, because when you come back out like that, and I'm sure will release another movie soon. You just touched your home roots in Chicago where you were doing those stage plays before you blew up. And I think it's pretty awesome.
And Chicago's definitely the base for that kind of success and getting that kind of attention. However, I would like to think that he also probably needs that interaction with the audience. He's probably one of these performers that needs that interaction with the audience. You know what I mean? The stage probably does a lot for him, and he needs to interact. Can we get him on the show, though, when he's in town? If he's going to be in town, we got to make him a guest co-host. That would be great, wouldn't it?
That'd be great, yeah.
All right, guys, 591-1690 is the number to call. We're talking about this story that came out about whether or not black students in Chicago Public School, or black students around the country, really, the report says, are being disciplined harsher, is that a correct way to put that sentence together? Harsher, more harshly than non-African-American students. How's that? Is that true? Is that the case? Are there other circumstances behind the numbers that we need to look at and analyze before we jump to a conclusion on this? And what about this story? I don't know if you saw this, Rosemarie Andolino, who's my guest co-host this morning, who also is the Commissioner of Aviation in the city of Chicago. There's a legislator in Wisconsin who wants to make single parenting a form of child abuse, if he has his way, by putting it into a bill to force the Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Board in Wisconsin to emphasize single parenting as a risk factor for child abuse and neglect. Single parenting as child abuse in general. How does this play into this story? Because I made the connection. I said, look, I wonder how many of these kids that are being suspended come from single family homes. One of our last callers said we need birth control. I threw out there, wouldn't it be great if you had a minimum age requirement to become a parent? I wonder if any of those things were factors. And what about this legislation? Hey, is this guy onto something? It sounds outlandish, right? But becoming a single parent, especially at a young age, does that do more harm to a child than good?
Well, I mean, parenting.
And without putting you on the spot, but I mean, that's a question that you can ask, though. I think legitimately ask.
Parenting is the hardest profession out there, right? Making sure you're responsible for someone else's life and in making sure they have the proper direction and to make the right choices in their life. I mean, it's hard. And to be a single parent, I mean, that's even harder. It's nice to have a support system.
Yeah, you don't have children, but can you imagine what it would have been like if just your mom were raising you? Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have one brother.
Right. Can you imagine if it was just your mom raising you and your brother?
It was hard with both parents, let alone with just one. So I get my hats off to men and women who are raising their children, independently. It's a hard thing to do.
Right,
and it's a life responsibility.
It is a life. It's a commitment that's It's much more than a commitment than having dogs. I can tell you that. Some people think like, no. When you have a child, this is a serious commitment. And especially for people who are not old enough to understand what that responsibility is about, that is where the problem in some communities exists. Now, I wonder how much of a problem that is in the African-American community. I've talked about it over the years, I think teenage pregnancy is one of our biggest issues. Could we see a connection between that and these numbers of suspensions in Chicago public schools? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Let's go to Yvonne. You're on WVON. Good morning, Yvonne.
Good morning, Matt. Good morning to your guests. I just want to say I do see both sides because what Arnie Duncan is talking about, I experienced that in Chicago with my son. More in the magnet schools, the upperly mobile schools, so-called, I did see a difference. And I even had white parents say that they saw the difference in the discipline. And we're talking primary grades. We're talking, years ago, I'm going to say in the last 15 years. And then also in the suburbs, definitely harsher discipline for the black students, especially black boys. It's almost like they were afraid of the black boys. I'm talking first, second, third grade. However, I did see the other side. I worked in the schools, and I found more in some of the inner city schools, I hate to say poor schools, more teenage pregnancy moms. You saw the kids who were out of control. So it's both sides, Matt. You're absolutely right. The teen pregnancy is a big problem with discipline with the kids. It really is. There's no getting around that.
And
it's both.
And one of our earlier callers, Maria, she said, you have to factor in mental illness. That some of these kids, and I've heard people talk about undiagnosed mental illness among Chicago public school students, young kids that are coming to school. And people don't know they have behavior problems, and they have not been diagnosed. And so then you're trying to figure out this outlandish behavior from them, and really these kids just probably need professional help, and then they can come back and reassimilate into school and be productive students. So, I mean, I think, this is a huge conversation. And I agree with you that it's a little bit of both. I agree. If you look in inner city, you probably have more examples. Like if you look at CPS, you probably have more examples of kids are getting disciplined because they are acting out. Whereas, like our previous caller out in the suburbs, there's that fear factor. If, a black student who's in a school out there that acts up, the fear might kick in, and they might overreact, suspend them.
Absolutely.
Because they don't want what they think is a bad trend to begin.
Exactly. You're right.
All right. Good call, Yvonne. Appreciate it. Let's go to Weatherspoon calling us. Weatherspoon, good morning. You're on WVON.
Yeah, God bless you, Matt.
Thank you.
This is a good topic because I interact with a lot of children here on the west side that go to different schools. The problem, what we have to do is band together as a community. So a lot of times parents need parents. We got young parents that don't know how to be a parent. How can a child teach a child if she's 14 years old? So we have a lot of dysfunction kids coming from home, and some of them have behavior problems, psychological problems. So the environment they live in, what they're dealing with in the home. So they're going to take all of this mentally and help these children.
Yeah, let me tell you this. There are a lot of kids that are growing up in a way that I could never, that many of us who, and I know I'm on a microphone and I can be critical of the behavior of kids in school, but I have to realize that some of these kids are growing up in a way that I would not have been able to handle. And a lot of us have no idea how some kids are being raised and what their home life is like. And so it's easy for me to kind of criticize. Yeah, they're bad, suspend their bad butts. But at the same time, I have no clue what some of these kids are dealing with before they get to school. And I think we should all keep that in mind. You said you grew up out in the northwest suburbs,
in
right?
northwest suburbs, yes.
How was there in your community? Did you see teen pregnancy? Was there teen pregnancy? Was that an issue? I mean, obviously in the inner city it is.
I a little bit. I remember vaguely a little bit about that. But not much. It wasn't as prevalent.
If a teenage girl got pregnant in your community, it was a big deal.
Big deal. Yes.
Big deal. Yeah. All right, 591-1690. You were about to say?
Well, I was just going to say, I agree with you. Some of these children today go through some experiences that you and I never will or never have.
Couldn't handle.
And, in many cases, they're acting as the adults of the family.
Yep.
And, your heart bleeds for them, and you want to make sure that, as adults, we try to help them every way we can and support them so that they can then have the proper tools to make the right decisions moving on. And
I never forget this story. That Mia's a school teacher, and I never forget this story she told me. She had this student who was a good student, got good grades all the time. I mean, she was teaching over at Claire Barton, which is right in the hood, right? And she said all of a sudden this kid just started doing bad, not turning in homework and wasn't focused in class or anything. And Mia was trying to figure out what was going on. So she, trying to talk to the girl. Girl was a little edgy, had a little attitude. She wasn't getting the right answers from the girl. Mia asked the other teachers that were teaching siblings of hers, younger siblings of hers, how are they doing? Oh, they're doing great. They're still doing good. she does like a spot check, goes to the house to try to find out what's going on, and finds out that this girl, she's in 6th grade. What she's doing, basically, the mom was having some problems. She's like feeding her younger siblings and doing their homework, making sure they're doing their homework. She's too tired to do her own.
Yeah.
She's falling off. She made sure that her younger siblings were getting their work done and they were fed. This girl's in 6th grade.
She was acting as the parent.
For crying out loud. And that made me back off of some.
I saw the same thing. I volunteered and we did a book club over at Orr High School over on the west side, and same type of stories, and your heart just bleeds. I mean, it just brought me to tears.
Yep, it is tear-jerking. Let's go to Denise. Good morning, Denise. You're on WVON.
Yes, I had worked with the public school system as a special ed coordinator, and it consisted of a team. And if the teacher had noticed that a kid was acting out or whatever, then or a slow learner, they would give a referral to the team. So a school nurse would come in and evaluate, a psychologist. I would record all of this information and a case manager, and then they would deem that kid as they would give the kid a label. Now, when the kid had a learning disability, whether it was severe or what have you, then they would give them the necessary resources. But if the kid was labeled a BD child, which is a behavior disorder child, that usually had something to do with the home, where the kid would act out. The kid could learn, but the kid would act out. So they would interview the parent and go to the home, and I would be the one that would log this into the computer. But I had the I don't know what you would call it, but I would have access to that records, and I would actually get to read the interviews and everything, even though I didn't set in on all the interviews of what some of these kids experience, especially the behavior disorder child. Now, the children, to me, and I'm no psychologist or anything, they seem to have suffered from post-traumatic stress syndrome, because people really do not know what's going on in some of these homes, you know. So, of course, the kid is going to act out. And I worked in one school called Bradwell on the southeast side. Some of these kids, a lot of these kids are being raised by single parents. Now, I don't know if that have anything to do with it or anything.
A lot to do with it.
Yeah, I do believe that. Yeah. But a lot of this is post-traumatic stress syndrome. Now, as adults, they go over to the military or whatever, they come back with it. Yep. But these are children that's facing this day in and day out.
Yeah, good call.
Thank you.
No, good call, good observation, and really the truth, and something for us to keep in mind. And that is not to suggest, having this conversation is not to suggest that the single parents, the many single parents out there that are doing a great job with their kids, don't deserve credit. They do. But we know that it is tough for a lot of kids out there, and we need to understand that. When we come back, we're going to talk to Rosemarie Andolino about contracts. And, you know, because I talked to you about the lack of black contracts during the Daley years, and we had a conversation offline about it. And you're going to explain some of the thought process and procedures that you go through before you guys give contracts out at O'Hare and Midway. That conversation coming up next with traffic and weather first with David Martin IV on WVON.
As your morning commute continues, so does Step Kid Radio in 2 minutes on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Hi, I'm Wallace E. Mickey Johnson, candidate for the 24th Ward Democratic Committeeman. It's no secret that the 24th Ward lacks strong leadership, which is why only 23% of our registered voters actually vote. For far too long, your voice and vote have been neglected. As your committeeman, I will bring forth qualified Democratic candidates who will support jobs, economic development, and educational opportunities for our community. On Tuesday, March 20th, 2012, punch number 202 and elect me, Wallace E. Mickey Johnson, for the 24th Ward Democratic Committeeman. It's 2012. It's time to bring the 24th Ward into the new millennium. Punch number 202 on March 20th, 2012.
Paid for by the Friends for Wallace E. Mickey Johnson.
Get out of Desperate Eagle to turn around.
If you play the lottery, you can go your entire lifetime and never win, but you will feel like you won when you attend David Siegel's upcoming financial healing workshop, Saturday the 17th at the WVON Legacy Room. Grab a pen and paper. You're going to want to write something down. David is going to help you get out of debt, solve your money problems, and put an end to your stress. On Saturday the 17th, David will get you out of debt under Chapter 7 bankruptcy for only $300 plus court costs. You heard that right. An attorney fee of only $300 for a Chapter 7 fresh start. Nowhere near the typical rate of $2,000. You must qualify for Chapter 7 relief, and you must be present at the workshop to get this incredible deal. The workshop is Saturday, March 17th at 1 p.m. The workshop is free, but you should call to reserve your seat. Call 773-276-6969. 773-276-6969. Don't spend another day in debt.
Get out of debt with Siegel, the turnaround.
This traffic report is brought to you by Busch Garden. Ready to escape the winter blues? It's time for a visit to Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay, where family adventures, thrilling rides, and exotic animals await you. Your Florida side is calling. Unleash it at buschgardenstampabay.com.
WVON drive time 8:24. David Martin IV, glad to be along with you for your morning drive. Delays on Lakeshore Drive at this hour from Montrose towards Fullerton Parkway at around 35 minutes due to an earlier accident. Lots of stopping and stalling. Still driving outbound between Holman Avenue and 17th at around an hour and 15 minutes. And the Bishop Ford Expressway delays from 130th Street as you're trying to get on the Dan Ryan at around 27 minutes. Your forecast for today, a gorgeous day. A high near 61 degrees, plenty of sunshine. Tonight mostly clear, a low near 48. And for Wednesday, keep those sunglasses handy, a high near 62. At Midway, it's now 41, and O'Hare is 39. Here at WVON Studios, things are on the up and up at 37 degrees. Well, that's a look at your morning drive and weather. I'm David Martin IV. Rise and shine, Chicago. Let's rejoin Matty Matt as the Matt McGill Morning Show continues right now. We are the talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
You thought WVON.com was slick before? Check out the changes at WVON.com. Keep up with your favorite WVON host on Facebook and Twitter. Sign up to be a WVON Black Card holder only on WVON.com.
You know what? These politicians in Wisconsin are very interesting, right? We've been talking about the Republicans up there.
Yes.
Introducing legislation to say single parenting is a form of child abuse. Boy, has that state seen some wacky Republican politicians.
Whoa. What a comment.
And it may cost them their governor, and I'm sure they would be happy to make that happen. Anyway, guys, Rosemarie Andolino is the commissioner of the Department of Aviation here in the city of Chicago. She's been my guest co-host for the morning. Got here at 6 o'clock early, bright and early. And among other things, her primary job is to basically run Midway and O'Hare airports, right?
Yes.
That's a huge responsibility. Of course, you're talking about the O'Hare expansion project that you were in charge of. That would be a project that brings about a lot of jobs and opportunity and contracts. You and I were talking about contracts. I was talking about the dismal percentage of contracts that are given out to African-American contractors. The number 3% has been a number that many people have talked about under the Daley years, a number that we've talked about under the new mayor that has to improve. And I said I was a little disappointed in the Daley years in that African-American. I mean, there were some African-Americans that definitely benefited, but I'd say as a whole, the majority of African-Americans did not get contracts with the city. The business community did not prosper as a whole as I thought it should have under the 22 years. And you were making some interesting points, not necessarily in defending. You were defending the mayor a little bit, but you were saying, look, there is a process, too. I want you to understand that is more to it than just, hey, there's 3% contracts going out to African Americans. There's a process. You were saying in your department that you guys have a process. You have opened up the bidding process, allow people to respond to the proposals that are out there, RFPs and all of that. Explain to our listeners what you were explaining to me in how there's more to it than meets the eye. There's more to it than just 3% of contracts going to minority contractors. There's a pool of qualified employees of contractors that you guys are recruiting, trying to get, and that process sometimes to get black contractors up to speed to where you guys need them to be, that's a process that takes a little time.
Yeah, we started back in 2003. What we started doing is getting ready for construction, which was to begin in 2005. We started a very aggressive outreach campaign to let people know what was coming so that they can plan their businesses appropriately, so that they knew if they were going to have to staff up, what types of skill sets would be needed, what kinds of, what did they need to do, and how did they need to partner if they weren't large enough in terms of their business, to partner with others then to become either a subcontractor so that they could start working on the program. Because we had contracts of all different sizes, small and very large. And one of the things I'm very proud of is we had, and now it's never enough. Let me phrase that.
It's not perfect.
It's not perfect. But what I've seen in my tenure since 2003 is growth. And what we've been able to do is move the numbers, and we always said that the numbers will change when African Americans start becoming essentially joint venture partners or one of the prime contractors.
Explain what that means.
That means you are that. You control the contract. You're not a subcontractor. You're not a subcontractor. Now, being a sub, there's nothing bad about that. And you shouldn't go beyond your abilities. You need to grow into it. That's when problems arise, when you're going beyond what you can actually do. But to grow from a subcontractor into and having larger pieces of that subcontracting pie to then a joint venture partner is what we've seen happen both in the African American side and the Hispanic side on this program.
So when you're joint venture partner, then you have more control over who works on the job.
Absolutely.
On the job side. Whereas if you're a subcontractor, you're kind of
beholden to the prime.
All right, let's hold that thought. We're going to talk more about it when we come back. 8:30 on WVON. I want to take your calls, 591-1690. Some of you out there are contractors, you want to do business with the city. Now's the time to call and get information if you need it. Rosemarie Andolino is my guest. We'll take your calls and more, but first, David with WVON News coming up next.
News is sponsored by NACA American Dream Tour. NACA, a nonprofit HUD-certified organization, brings its American Dream Tour to the House of Hope, Tuesday, March 6th through Saturday, March 10th. Stay tuned to WVON 1690 for further details.
Good morning. I'm David Martin IV with WVON News. Here's a closer look at some of the stories making headlines at 8 o'clock. One man is dead and another was critically injured after a violent domestic argument in a Lakeview home late last night. Authorities are still investigating the circumstances that left a 25-year-old man dead from multiple stab wounds. Doctors at Advocate Illinois Masonic Medical Center managed to stabilize a 53-year-old man who was involved in the dispute. A Chicago man is in good condition after being rescued from the Chicago River yesterday afternoon. The unidentified man apparently fell into the river near Roosevelt Road on Lumber Street, where he was pulled from the water by a Chicago Marine unit just after 5 in the evening. The man was taken to Stroger Hospital in good condition. One of the big stories here in Chicagoland is how the G8 Summit will not be held here in town any longer.
The president is the host of the G8 Summit, and it was his decision to have a more intimate setting at Camp David, and we respect that.
Jennifer Martinez with the G8 NATO Host Committee is saying Chicago will still get to host the NATO Summit after the G8 Summit. Now, officials declined to say why the event was moved to Camp David, only saying hosting there will permit a more free-flowing discussion. U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder is justifying the U.S. targeting and killing American citizens overseas in the war on terror.
Our actions must always be grounded on the bedrock of the Constitution and must always be consistent with statutes, court precedent, the rule of law, and our founding ideals.
Holder spoke last night at the Northwestern University Law School defending the country's right to such action under Congress's authorization to use all necessary force against the perpetrators of 9/11. Finally, Super Tuesday in Ohio is expected to be a tight race between Mitt Romney and Rick Santorum. Dr. Herb Asher with Ohio State University is saying a lot of Republicans aren't sure who they're going to support.
People expect that Romney could win, Santorum could win, but I think they generally expect that the margin would not be great in either direction.
Now, recent polls are suggesting Romney with a very tight lead over Santorum going into today's vote. Stay with WVON as we'll have all the results of Super Tuesday. Well, that's a look at some of the stories in the news this hour. We'll take a look at your morning drive and weather after WVON Sports with Sunny Means.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Pearson McNeil with Nielsen, the world's leading market research company that measures what you watch,
and what you buy. And I'm back with another consumer fun fact meant just for you. Did you know the average African American household spends approximately 40% more time than any other household watching television? African American households tend to prefer premium cable channel programming, drama, live TV, reality shows, and sports. Fascinating information, right? It's only fascinating because people just like you have voluntarily participated in our studies and surveys and on our panels to tell us what you watch on TV, how you use your online and cell phone time, even where and how you buy your groceries. You know who else finds this information fascinating? Businesses. They actually rely on these types of insights to determine the best products, programs, and services to offer you. So if you've ever doubted it before, please know this. You matter. And if you're ever asked to participate in a Nielsen study, please do yourself and everyone a favor. Say yes.
This sports report is brought to you by RE/MAX. Did you know that RE/MAX has the 2 most popular real estate websites in the industry? IllinoisProperty.com is the most visited Chicagoland real estate website according to Compete.com. RE/MAX.com is the most visited real estate franchise website in the country according to Hitwise. Visit them today.
Good morning, Sunny Means WVON Sports. Well, the Bulls did it again. They dumped the Indiana Pacers 92-72 in back-to-back games. Luol Deng scored 20 points in the game. D. Rose added 13 points, 9 assists, and hit 3 three-pointers. And while Deng, he knocked down 2 three-pointers in the third quarter. And the team picked up their 7th straight victory. And it was kind of testy out there, Derrick Rose.
They're a good team where last time we played them, they beat us here, and now we just got to deal with them where they put up a fight every time we play them. We're used to it, and I think it's making us better as a team. It's just that we just go out there and we're trying to win the game. And if that's a exchange of words or whatever it is, it's basketball. You're going to hear that. We just got to get used to it.
And Luol Deng jumps in on the word about that testiness out there.
You don't want to lose to a team twice in a row at home, especially a team that you could be facing in the playoffs. And we played them last year. Even though we won 4-1, they played us close every game.
Sunny Means, 1690 WVON Sports.
This traffic report is brought to you by Verizon Wireless. Come to Verizon Wireless for the new 4G LTE Droid Razr by Motorola. 16 gigabyte on America's fastest 4G network. Now in black, white, and purple. Visit any Verizon store, vzw.com/best network, or call 1-800-256-4646. Verizon.
WVON Drive Time, 8:36. David Martin IV, proud to be along with you for your morning drive as always. At this hour, delays on the Eisenhower, driving outbound between Holman Avenue and 17th near 47 minutes. That's due to an earlier accident. Stopping and stalling on Lakeshore Drive from Montrose towards Fullerton Parkway near 28 minutes. And additional delays this hour on the Bishop Ford Expressway. That's driving inbound after 130th Street towards the Dan Ryan at around 27 minutes. Your forecast for today, a gorgeous afternoon. A high near 61 degrees. This evening, mostly clear. You'll see a low near 48. And for Wednesday, keep those sunglasses handy. We'll have a high near 62. At Midway, it's now 41 degrees. At O'Hare, it's now 39. Here at WVON Studios, things are on the up and up at 39 degrees. Well, that's a look at your morning drive and weather. I'm David Martin IV. Rise and shine, Chicago. The Matt McGill Morning Show continues right now. This is what we do. We are the talk of Chicago. 1690 WVON.
By purchasing the WVON Black Card, you are supporting WVON. We also have a new featured podcasting of your favorite host. Log into the all-new WVON.com to link up.
All righty now, Rosemarie Andolino.
Yes.
This sweet, innocent Italian girl from northwest suburbs. But you claim Chicago, though.
Oh, Chicago's my home.
She is now running O'Hare and Midway. And you were talking about the contracting process there and how, of course, and this is important for black entrepreneurs, black businesses who want to do business with the city. and namely with O'Hare and Midway. Now, this is separate. What you're talking about is this is separate from concessions and stuff like that you
yes.
are responsible for,
yes.
right? Because
now,
concessions, that's a whole different process, right?
Yes, because you have to have a airport certified disadvantaged business enterprise. So it's an ACDBE classification.
ACDC, I remember those guys.
Right? So yes, it's a little different on the concession side than it is on professional services or construction.
All right, but so on professional and construction, then I want to get back to that. So because a lot of our listeners are small business owners, medium-sized business owners, and some of them are ready to transition from medium to large and take on the responsibility that you were talking about. So you're saying the process as it goes from being a subcontractor to a
joint venture
partner is where you want to go. You want to be a prime contractor. Now, how's that going? How have you seen the numbers increase with African American participation with the Department of Aviation?
Absolutely. We went, and now it ebbs and flows depending on what kind of contracts we let each year. Some years more than others, but last year we had approximately about 5% African American participation, but we didn't let that many contracts. The year before last. Last year, we had 17% African-American participation. So we're into the double digits. That's where we want to be. We were hovering at 8 and 9 for many years. Now we've seen that needle move.
Is that because of the joint venture?
Yes. And our joint venture partner, actually, for a $160 million contract, Pat Terrell from Terrell Materials. He's supplying the concrete for one of our largest paving jobs, Runway 10 Center, which is under construction right now.
Wow.
Yeah. Great guy. Went to Notre Dame. African-American young man. Went to Notre Dame, Chicago. Yeah, great guy. And he really, I met him in 2003, and he has been working it.
Did he work his way up to
He did.
That
he started
capacity?
off as a sub with small amounts, of work, and kept growing each time with contractors. He kept getting more and more equity, getting more and more responsibility to a point today. Again, he's a joint venture partner. So
he started out pouring a sidewalk, and now he's doing a runway.
Yes. Same thing, Wilbur Millhouse on the professional services side. Wilbur started out back in 2003 doing design work. Now he was in as a sub. Now he's leading the efforts on the design teams.
What is he designing?
He's designing runways.
Oh, really?
Yeah, runways and taxiways. He just recently did the Whiskey Quebec runway design for our North Airfield. Yes. So, we're seeing this level of, continued growth, which is very promising and very, we want to see more of it.
So you jumped from 5 to 17%.
Yeah.
That jump, though, was the result of years of going through the process, though, of you guys getting black contractors involved. Could we see those numbers for the entire city? Department of Aviation, O'Hare, Midway, that's great. Do you think we could see those numbers for the entire city? And I bet I've got some people who out there, some contractors out there who probably would call in and say, in fact, we've got one caller who says he applied for a contract at O'Hare, and I'll let him come on.
Sure.
But some people would say, hey, I've had a hard time getting some work at O'Hare.
Well, you know what? The problem is, too, is we may have 7, 10, 15 bidders. There's going to be one recipient. So if you're on one of the other teams, you may not then be awarded the contract. On construction is responsive low bidder. And so it's pretty clear. You open up that bid tab. If all things, being equal, you've provided all of the right mixes, the aggregate, all of the labor, all of the hours, everything is met in accordance with the contract specs, then it goes down to price. And so who is the lowest bidder?
Which
responsive
makes sense,
low
'cause
bidder.
The city, right,
so not everybody
has a responsibility for being fiscally smart.
Yes.
So, okay.
And we were under budget on our delivery.
Really?
On time, ahead of schedule, and under budget on our north runway and our extension.
Oh, good work.
Yeah.
Let's go to Marcus calling us. Marcus, good morning. You're on WVON.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Matt, for having the lady on the show. We thank y'all for bringing this issue to the forefront of our community. First of all, I like to ask the lady, Matt, because this is very easy to resolve these type of issues. Isn't the last 2 GCs that's been out there, aren't they the same GCs that's been out there for the past 7 years?
It depends on each job has been different. But, you have, in some cases, on the large contracts, you have some of the same names that come to the table. But like in this case, where this was a $160 million contract, you do have Walsh, Lambrick, and Terrell Materials as a joint venture partnership, the 3 of them.
And thank you very much, ma'am. That's the point I'm saying to you, Matt, is that the same GC are getting the same. It's almost a monopoly. It doesn't matter how much we bid. They don't never unbundle the contract. The contract is always 100, like she said, 150 million. As far as the joint venture that they do is so minimum, and then they take back and say that you're not able, specifically Wash says that you're not able. They have a clause in their contract saying that at any given moment that we feel that you're not able to fulfill your contract, we can take it without any question. And
now let me ask.
Wash have done this on several occasions.
Okay, let me ask Rosemarie that. Now, he's saying that Walsh has stipulations in their contracts where if you cannot perform the duty that they can take the contract back. Is that, Marcus, are you talking about when Walsh is the primary?
Walsh is used.
Hold on. Let me ask you a question.
Are you talking about? Do it, Matt. First, wait.
No. I was going to ask you. Let me just ask you this quick question, and you can get everything you want to say in. Is that when Walsh is obviously it's when they are a general contractor on a specific job, right?
Right.
All right.
And when they're the GC, they use the black company to say that they have their black companies. Right. Then once they are approved, then they turn back around and get rid of the black companies and bring their own companies there. And
this is something that Walsh has done.
Knows about
right, Rosemarie. This is something that Walsh has been accused of doing in some of their job sites, their contracts that they have with the city and other locations. And I don't know if they do that at O'Hare as well, but what the caller is suggesting is that Walsh will bid and they'll have a minority partner in, maybe not the partner that you're talking to, but a smaller subcontractor to satisfy according to whatever. But then when they get the job going, they put undue pressure on that contractor to perform in a way that they cannot, and then that's how they get rid of them and replace them. I've heard this, whether it's been, I haven't heard it out at O'Hare or Midway, but I've heard it in terms of job sites here in the city, whether it's Walsh working on a construction project with the city in the neighborhoods, that they will have their black contractors they'll bring to the table to get the bid, to get the job, but then they'll start the job, and then they'll start phasing that black subcontractor out. Have you seen any of that?
We've not. We've been rather lucky on the side, or successful on the side, that people who've been brought to the table have stayed there, have
been able to do the job,
continued to perform. Yes, and
they say this is a trick. I've heard some of our callers and some legitimate business people call in and say that Walsh among others have alleged that Walsh among others have used this trick before, where they will have some black contractors subbing out some jobs so that they can meet the quota, but then they will turn on them or put undue pressure on them. They can't keep up with the work, and then they get rid of them and they replace them with a non-black contractor.
Yeah. I also want to address the issue of the caller. We have unbundled in many cases. We've had contracts, under $500,000, $1 million, $14 million, up to what could be $160
Explain
million.
the bundling process, because Marcus threw that in there, and I know some of our listeners do not know what you were talking about.
Well, there's certain parts of the project or the program that you can't unbundle too far, or you start to lose the integrity then.
And by unbundling, you mean separating the jobs
them out
out
too far, right. So we've had things like we've done on the North Airfield, security fencing. We've done site preparation we unbundled for our cargo area and our interim ditch. We've done our North Airfield ARF facility, which is our air rescue facility for our fire teams. Bird deterrent wire was an unbundling of a contract that was approximately $1 million contract.
Which is a big contract, because these birds get caught up in the engines, and that could be
it's
damaging.
Important,
yeah.
Extremely important to ensure.
In fact, it can be fatal.
Yes, it can.
Yes.
So we want to do our part to ensure we mitigate against wildlife coming onto the airfield. So we've had smaller contracts. Again, it's not a perfect system, but what I'd like to say is we've had some great successes. Now, one of the things we do is continue to have outreach sessions. And so I would encourage your listeners to come to our outreach sessions. We will continue to have more, both on the concession side of the house as well as on the construction and design side. So go to our website at www.flychicago.com. Go to what we call our web alerts. section and type in your email address. And in doing so, each and every time we post something to our website, you will know about it. So when we're going to go out and post information about upcoming contracts, you will know about it. In addition, we try to forecast ahead of time. So information is already on our website for upcoming contracts, and it gets more and more refined as we get closer then to issuing. But people then will be able to see information to all people. It's transparent. You can go on the website today and view that.
All right, Bill's calling us from the South Side. Good morning, Bill.
Matt, how you doing, sir?
Wonderful.
Okay, it's Commissioner, correct?
Yep.
Yes, hi, Miss. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm okay. Hey, Matt, I've heard you mention several times over the last couple of years about under Harold Washington, Mayor Washington, black participation in regards to city contracts was at a level of 30 or 40% of the total contracts that were, issued or outstanding by way of the city. And so then it dropped off under Daley to 3%. And so my question right off the top is, why would it drop off from, let's say, 30 or 40% down to 3% under Daley? And in regards to the commissioner, I don't know if the commissioner would have that answer, but in regards to the commissioner, does she foresee whatever level we're at now, maybe under 10%, would it ever get back up to 30 or 40%, given the population size of the black community in Chicago? Yeah, because, I could guess right off the top that under Daley, new regulations or access to the system became harder. So obviously, you're going to knock a lot of people out that are not going to have access to the system any longer in terms of contracts or the ability to even qualify or apply because you've imposed new regulations with that in mind. And you can see that, Matt, and I know a lot about city business licenses in terms of small businesses licenses. You can easily see where the city has imposed new business license standards. It used to be 6 months for some license, every 6 months. Now it's every 2 years. Instead of $1,000, it might be $2,000. So
you're saying making it more difficult for businesses to get off the ground and get their licenses.
Exactly.
All right, now I'm gonna let the commissioner. I'm up on a hard break right now, but I'm gonna let the commissioner respond to that when we come back, Bill, on the South Side. Good question for you. Try to remember it because I will forget during a commercial break. 8:50 traffic and weather coming up right now.
As your morning commute continues, so does Step Kid Radio on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
My name's Jennifer Artis, and I put nurses to work. To me, healthcare is not some political issue. It's real. It's real to Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., too. Jesse led the fight to pass President Obama's healthcare plan. The big money folks tried to stop him, but Jesse and the president won. Now Jesse's protecting our Medicare and Social Security, keeping our hospitals open, and making sure our community has enough nurses. They say one man can't make a difference. Well, Jesse Jackson Jr. got us the money to start a nurses training program. Now we have 1,200 more healthcare workers in the Southland, and we're saving lives every day. That's 1,200 more jobs for our area. 1,200 more skilled workers treating those in need, and countless lives being saved. All because Jesse Jackson Jr. stood up and fought for us.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., and I approve this ad.
Jesse never stops fighting for the people.
Paid for by Jackson for Congress.
Hey, it's Monique Carradine. You know, when I'm not on the air, I help entrepreneurs, executives, and experts learn the secrets of marketing and getting media publicity. So if you're ready to take your business to a new level, register for my premier 2-day Visibility Bootcamp. It happens March 16th and 17th, and space is limited to 10 visionary professionals. If you are ready to stop being the best kept secret and start getting more visibility, credibility, and profitability, I'm ready to show you how. Go to visibilitybootcamp.com for more details. Early bird registration ends February 24th. Only 10 seats available. The website again is visibilitybootcamp.com.
Do you ever go through the day in a state of falling behind, feeling like you're constantly struggling to keep up with your kids, your finances, your insurance, your life? Then what you don't need are more things to keep up with. So let a State Farm agent help you simplify and get to a better state. Because when you have a State Farm agent who can handle your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time for everything else. You'll also have more money because the more State Farm policies you have, the more discounts you could qualify for. And those discounts could add up to as much as 40%. That's extra money that could actually help you get ahead for a change. Maybe going towards an unexpected bill or credit card balance. Stop feeling like you're falling behind. Call State Farm agent Linda Mitchell in Chicago at 312-243-7900 or State Farm agent Oliver Banks in Chicago at 773-881-0493 today and get to a better state. State Farm. Discounts may vary state to state.
How successful can your business be if no one knows about it? Whether you're a large corporation, a small business, or an independent entrepreneur, marketing and promoting your business is the key to your success. That's why you should call the Flow Corporate Audio Group. We're an award-winning team of experienced audio and video professionals specializing in custom content development. Need a corporate training video, custom audio or voiceover for a trade show booth, a custom jingle or a musical logo, custom sound effects, or a fully produced radio-ready commercial? If it can be heard, the Flow Corporate Audio Group can create it at a price that fits your budget. We're changing the way businesses are heard. To learn more, visit our website at www.flowcag.com. That's FLOWCAG.com. Or call us at 708-283-8860. Mention WVON and get 10% off your first service package. The Flow Corporate Audio Group. We're the sound choice for business.
This traffic report is brought to you by Governor State University. Earn success by degrees at Governor State University. With convenient classes and the most affordable tuition in Illinois, moving ahead just got a whole lot easier. Learn more at govst.edu/GSU today.
WVON Drive Time, 8:54. David Martin IV, glad to be along with you for your morning drive at this hour. Stopping and stalling on Lakeshore Drive from Irving Park Road towards Fullerton Parkway at around 15 minutes. And the Eisenhower has some stopping and stalling issues from Manheim towards Independence Boulevard at around 37 minutes. Your forecast for this Tuesday, how about a beautiful day? Sunny skies, high near 61 degrees. This evening clear, only a low near 50. And for Wednesday, more sunshine, a high near 62. At Midway, it's now 41 degrees. At O'Hare, it's 42. Here at WVON Studios, things are on the up and up with all this sunshine. We're at 39 degrees. That's a look at your morning drive and weather. I'm David Martin IV. Let's rejoin Matty Matt, Chicagoland, as the Matt McGill Morning Show wraps up right now. We are the talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
It's the all-new WVON.com with all the latest interactive features, including the latest news from CNN and NBC5. Go to the all-new WVON.com.
It is the morning show. Look, guys, I want you to go out tonight. If you are living in the 34th District, then you need to come tonight to a candidates forum hosted by none other than Miss Perry Small, who's coming up shortly here. This is all going down at 6 o'clock at Harlan High School. You can come out and meet all the candidates that are running for the 34th District State Representative seat. Perry's going to moderate. You're going to have panelists there. Robert Pincham, who's a law instructor, he will be there. Marcia Lithcock, Chicago Tribune editor, will be there. And Perry will be there and asking all the right questions. You know that much. That's her district. Perry is very partial to Connie Howard, and so she's going to be on point with the questions because she wants to make sure that she has somebody who is going to represent that district in the spirit of Connie Howard. We know that. So if you are in the 34th District and you want to meet the candidates, come on out there, meet the judges and as well and other candidates. This is for the 34th District, Harlan High School tonight, 6 o'clock. When Perry comes on, she'll tell you more about it as well. Rosemarie Andolino, thank you. You have been great co-hosting. Got here early, 6 o'clock, sat in 3 hours, did your thing. I want to make sure that you give out the information for the Department of Aviation again so that anybody who has any questions, You want to make this process more transparent, or continue to make it transparent. You want to see that number get to a place where it represents the population of Chicago, bottom line. You've seen it jump from 5% black contracts participation to
17% today.
And that growth has happened because of a longer process, and you want that trend to continue, right?
Yes. So we're going to continue to reach out to the community. Again, all of our information is on our website. Feel free to contact my office. But we want to encourage additional participation. I would also say that the listeners should also focus on, people talk about green jobs, right? And Americans were very entrepreneurial. I think there's a focus here, an ability to actually grow that market as well when you talk about sustainability. There's opportunity there. We're one of the greenest airports in the world. And so I would encourage, your entrepreneurs to think about ways that they could figure out to bring sustainability to the airport environment and look at what we're doing and complement what we're doing with some good businesses.
And I want our listeners to understand that you're not just on here talking about, hey, we're doing a great job and we're, giving black contractors contracts, because you say you understand that I'm sure there's some funny business that has gone on over the years and probably still goes on. You're not saying that does not happen. It's not a perfect system, but your goal is to make sure that it doesn't happen and to try to give fair opportunity to black contractors that are coming to the table on time with their proposals and that have capacity. You want them to go from being subs to partners in on these contracts.
Yes. I mean, we definitely want them to grow. Again, go to our website. And I also know recently, just last week, Jamie Reef from the Department of Procurement Services held an outreach fair where she had all of the Chicago departments, including us, participating in to communicate, disseminate information to the people, and to communicate what are the up-and-coming opportunities, again, to bring in more participation from every level.
All right, Rosemarie Andolino, thank you so much. Our Commissioner, Department of Aviation, the City of Chicago, thank you for coming on to the show, guys. Look, in today's economy, buying a home or keeping the one you have is tough, but NACA, a nonprofit HUD-certified organization, can help you do both, and it's free, and you don't need perfect credit, guys. There's no down payment, no closing costs, no points or fees, and you can qualify for this fixed-rate mortgage at NACA's American Dream Tour. Starts today at the House of Hope, 752 East 114th Street. It goes on until Saturday, March 10th, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
The talk of Chicago and the voice of the nation